From this time forth, if a prisoner of either nation is in durance either of the Russes or of the Greeks, and then sold into another country, any Rus or Greek who happens to be in that locality shall purchase the prisoner and return the person thus purchased to his own native country. The purchaser shall be indemnified for the amount thus expended, or else the value of the prisoner's daily labor shall be reckoned towards the purchase money. If any Rus be taken prisoner by the Greeks, he shall likewise be sent back to his native land, and his purchase price shall be repaid, as has been stipulated, according to his worth. Whenever you find it necessary to declare war, or when you are conducting a campaign, providing any Ruses desirous of honoring your emperor come at any time and wish to remain in his service, they shall be permitted in this respect to act according to their desire. If a Russian prisoner from any region is sold among the Christians, or if any Christian prisoner is sold among the Ruses, he shall be ransomed for 20 bezants and returned to his native land. In case a Russian slave is stolen, or escapes, or is sold under compulsion, and if a Rus institutes a claim to this effect which is substantiated, the slave shall be returned to Rus. If a merchant loses a slave and institutes a complaint, he shall search for the slave until he is found. But if any person refuses to allow him to make this search, the local officer shall forfeit his right of perquisition. With respect to the Ruses professionally engaged in Greece under the orders of the Christian emperor, if any one of them dies without setting his property in order and has no kinsfolk there, his estate shall be returned to his distant relatives in Rus. But if he makes some disposition of his goods, the person whom he has designated in writing as his heir shall receive the property of which he thus disposed. Such shall be the due process of inheritance in the cases of Ruses engaging in trade, of casual travelers in Greece, and of those having debts outstanding there. If a criminal takes refuge in Greece, the Ruses shall make complaint to the Christian Empire, and such criminal shall be arrested and returned to Rus regardless of his protests. The Ruses shall perform the same service for the Greeks whenever the occasion arises. As a convention and an inviolable pledge, binding equally upon you Greeks and upon us Ruses, we have caused the present treaty to be transcribed in vermilion script upon parchment in duplicate. In the name of the Holy Cross and the holy and indivisible Trinity of your one true God, your Emperor has confirmed it by his signature and handed it to our envoys. According to our own faith and the custom of our nation, we have sworn to your Emperor, who rules over you by the grace of God, that we will neither violate ourselves nor allow any of our subjects to violate the peace and amity assured by the articles thus concluded between us. We have transmitted this document for the ratification of your Majesty, in order to confirm and promulgate the treaty thus concluded between us this 2nd of September, in the year of creation, 6420, 15th of the indication. The Emperor Leo honored the Russian envoys with gifts of gold, palls, and robes, and placed his vassals at their disposition to show them the beauties of the churches, the golden palace, and the riches contained therein. They thus showed the Ruses much gold and many palls and jewels, together with the relics of our Lord's Passion, the crown, the nails, and the purple robe, as well as the bones of the saints. They also instructed the Ruses in their faith, and expounded to them the true belief. Thus the Emperor dismissed them to their native land with great honor. The envoys sent by Oleg returned to Kiev and reported to him all the utterances of both emperors. They recounted how they had made peace and established a covenant between Greece and Rus, confirmed by oaths inviolable for the subjects of both countries. Thus Oleg ruled in Kiev and dwelt at peace with all nations. Now autumn came, and Oleg bethought him of this horse that he had caused to be well fed, yet had never mounted. For on one occasion he had made inquiry of the wonder-working magicians as to the ultimate cause of his death. One magician replied, "O Prince, it is from the steed which you love and on which you ride that you shall meet your death." Oleg then reflected and determined never to mount this horse or even to look upon it again. So he gave command that the horse should be properly fed, but never led into his presence. He thus let several years pass until he had attacked the Greeks. After he returned to Kiev, 4 years elapsed, but in the 5th he thought of the horse through which the magicians had foretold that he should meet his death. He thus summoned his senior squire and inquired as to the whereabouts of the horse which he had ordered to be fed and well cared for. The squire answered that he was dead. Oleg laughed and mocked the magician, exclaiming, "Soothsayers tell untruths, and their words are naught but falsehood. This horse is dead, but I am still alive." Then he commanded that a horse should be saddled. "Let me see his bones," said he. He rode to the place where the bare bones and skull lay. Dismounting from his horse, he laughed and remarked, "So I was supposed to receive my death from this skull." And he stamped upon the skull with his foot, but a serpent crawled forth from it and bit him in the foot, so that in consequence he sickened and died. All the people mourned for him in great grief. They bore him away and buried him upon the hill which is called Shekovitsa. His tomb stands there to this day, and it is called the Tomb of Oleg. Now all the years of his reign were 33. It is remarkable what may be accomplished through witchcraft and enchantment. During the reign of Domitian there lived a certain soothsayer named Apollonius of Tyana. He attained celebrity and journeyed about performing infernal marvels throughout the cities and towns. From Rome he came to Byzantium, and on being besought of the inhabitants to accomplish this wonder, he drove out a multitude of serpents and scorpions from the city, so that no man should be wounded by them. He also tamed horses of violent temper before the assembled nobles. He came likewise to Antioch, and on being besought by the inhabitants, since Antioch was tormented with scorpions and gnats, he made a brass scorpion and buried it in the earth. After setting a small marble post over it, he bade the inhabitants hold reeds in their hands and walk through the city, shaking the reeds and crying, "May this city be rid of gnats." Thus the gnats and scorpions vanished from the city. When he was questioned regarding the earthquakes that threatened the city, he sighed and wrote on a tablet these words: "Alas for thee, unhappy city! Thou shalt be much shaken by an earthquake and fall a prey to flame, and this river, Orontes, shall bewail thee by its shores." Of this magician, the great Anastasius of the City of God remarked, "Even to this day the enchantments of Apollonius remain effective, some for the elimination of four-footed beasts or of birds capable of harming mankind, and others for the control of beds of rivers flowing in unfixed channels, while still others are eminently effective against disease and injury to man." Not only during his life do the demons at his command bring such wonders to pass, but even after his death they hover about his tomb and perform miracles in his name to deceive unhappy men who are much inclined to such errors through the influence of the devil. What shall we say of those who perform works of magic? For a certain man was so skilled in magical deception that he ridiculed Apollonius the sage on the ground that he did not cultivate true philosophical knowledge. He ought, he asserted, like me, to accomplish his desires by means of a single word, and should not execute his devices by material means. All these things exist through the sufferance of God and the agency of the devil, that by such means our orthodox faith may be tested as to whether it is firm and secure, cleaving to the Lord, and not to be seduced by the enemy through false miracles and satanic acts performed by the servants and slaves of his wickedness. Some have even prophesied in the name of the Lord, like Balaam and Saul and Caiaphas, and have driven out the devil like Jude and the sons of Seva. For the Lord often gives grace to the unworthy that it may benefit others. Thus Balaam was far from both life and faith, yet in him the Lord gave evidence of grace that others might see. Such was Pharaoh, but to him the Lord showed the future. There was Nebuchadnezzar also, who sinned against the law. To him the Lord revealed what was to occur after many generations, thus showing that many who have a hostile heart perform miracles according to the example of Christ, yet by other means to deceive men who do not understand good works. Such were Simon the magician and Menander. Of such men it has truly been said, "Be not deceived by miracles." The year 6421. Igor succeeded Oleg and began his reign. At the same time began the reign of Constantine, son of Leo and son-in-law of Romanus. The Derevlians offered resistance to Igor after Oleg's death. The year 6422. Igor attacked the Derevlians, and after conquering them, he imposed upon them a tribute larger than Oleg's. In the same year, Simeon of Bulgaria attacked Tsargrad, and when peace was made, he returned to his own country.